Howdy, guys, gals, and non binary pals. This is the Tales from the Waystone Summer Reading Program.
We are your hosts, Will and Phoenix. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the second installment of our series on Travis Baldree's Bookshops and Bonedust. Is this a kissing book? Where we'll be reading chapters 6 through 11.
All right, real quick before we get too far into it, I am going to do my best to make this episode kind of short. One, I had to have another surgery, not related to the first surgery. And the last time I edited 3/4 of the thing in one morning. So, and then we were really tired and everything. And so we're recording this on Thanksgiving. You're welcome. We love you. We don't care about Thanksgiving that much. It's just a nice, restful day. And this is actually something that we find fun. So it's not like super arduous. The editing isn't as easy to do, but it's also not like the worst thing in the world. So I'm going to try to keep the episode down to starter villain sizes because it'll be easier to edit over the weekend so I can get it to you guys on Tuesday. Hopefully, you've heard this either on Tuesday or shortly thereafter. Anyway, our disclaimers now. Each week we'll be examining a section of Bookshops and Bonedust and figuring out what we can take from the text to apply to our real lives. And we'll also take some time to focus on something we have learned this week and share a recommended thing of the week. And probably before that, have shared a few notable quotables from the book that made us smile or laugh or think. Before we begin, let's get some disclaimers out of the way. First of all, we are in no way affiliated with Travis Baldree or his publisher, Tor Books. Second of all, our discussions naturally assume that you have either read the part of the book that we are talking about, or you don't care about spoilers. You've been warned. Also, a word to our community, please be kind to yourselves, one another, and the creators of the worlds that we love exploring.
All right, so let's dive into chapter 6. So we begin with Viv looking to fix some of what she broke.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has ever had the experience of accidentally putting their foot through a porch board or whatnot. It's kind of scary. I know that she put her crutch through it. That's actually kind of worse because that's supposed to be your support system because your foot's all messed up or your leg is all messed up and
Oof.
ugh, that would scare the living bejesus out of me. I'm just going to say.
Yeah, she ends up requisitioning some supplies from Pitts, who's kind of the local handyman, and she offers to pay for it. And he says, "Yeah, we'll see about that."
Yeah, I think in some ways she's kind of saving him some work, kind of, or at least that's how he's going to play it off. And what's interesting to me is just seeing her go, this can't be that hard, can it? Certain things take skills. Skills that took time to learn, probably from someone, probably not all on your own. And repairs, especially like this, take some skill.
And you may not get it right in the first go.
Right. Now, here's the deal. You can't learn if you don't try. But it probably would have been nice for Viv to ask if she could also, like, I don't know, have a little bit of help or supervision. But she just is like, how hard can this be? And then she tries it and she's like, oh, that's how hard this could be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have more handy person skills than you do. When we've done projects together, ultimately, I don't think you're bad at it. I think that you think you're bad at it.
I've also had less practice at it.
That's why, like, I don't think you're bad at things. I think that you're not yet skilled at things. So I'm on a lot of creative subreddits, especially like the crochet subreddit, which, by the way, if you want to see anything that I've been working on, go to our Discord, say hi. But a lot of people pick up a hobby, are not instantly good at it, or instantly mediocre at it even. They're kind of just like, oh, this is harder than it looks. And crochet is no exception. It's really hard to get your tension right. It's really hard to figure out how to do the foundation chain, which from the name of it should tell you it's the foundation of your piece. And it's harder to get the tension right on that because it always winds up being just a little too tight. So when you go to do your first row or do continuous rows, sometimes people wind up with a rainbow shape. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you got it wrong the first time or that you need help. And there's nothing wrong with going back, even if it was hours worth of work, and undoing something, if redoing it would make it better, or at least not drive you crazy. Everyone needs to learn from some point. The one thing that made me really, really sad when I was in art classes after I already had an art degree was that most of those classes were things that I had to take. Like, they were art for designers classes, which meant art for non-artists classes. There were a couple of us that were pretty good at art, but there were some of us who were abysmal, who had no interest. And again, art degree already. And one of my friends was slated to present their final after I was. And he's just like, "Can I please go ahead of you? I really don't want to be after you." And I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. Don't think that you're horrible at this. You're just unskilled at this." There's a huge difference.
Yeah. So Viv is able to, after several tries and a couple messed up boards, get an actual solid repair put in.
Pro tip, have extras.
Always have more than you need. More than you think you'll need. You know, it's interesting here how, like, Fern is pretty surprised about all this.
She also expresses her dismay at the fact that she can't afford to just get repairs done because her bookshop is underwater. Could be literal, but it's not. But financially underwater. And she doesn't know how to turn things around, but we get more personal stories and more personal information. This was her dad's place, and then he left it to her. But she's not skilled at the business part of running a business.
It feels like what she's trying to do is just kind of keep her head above the water. She's barely holding on. And so doing anything that would ask her to, make an improvement is just not something she's equipped for right now.
Other than just being able to pay off some of her bills, she's not doing too well. She's only really selling sea charts, and that's not going to sustain the building, the repairs, the acquiring new things. And she's so disappointed. And she confides that in Viv after having a bit of a tiff over the whole, "But you repaired my stuff for me and I didn't ask you to."
One thing that I note is that Fern has a strong sense of reciprocity.
Yes.
So she has to feel like she is doing something to deserve help rather than simply needing help. Like, if she doesn't deserve help, regardless of what she needs, she doesn't feel like it's okay for her to accept it.
This is actually a huge problem I've seen with more than just this. I also have this very strong need to reciprocate, or this feeling of my situation isn't as bad. I don't need the help. I don't need the help. I would benefit from the help, but I don't need the help. And so I stubbornly do a lot of things on my own. And this has been like when I was flat broke. I didn't apply for things like SNAP, which is food stamps if you're not in the US. I refused to try to get help, like food assistance help, like medical assistance help, because I thought that I wasn't that bad off or that I wasn't deserving of it, that other people deserved it more. And I think a lot of us are just drilled into that mentality.
To kind of get ahead of things here a little bit, because I think this is a good line of conversation. Fern is also, I think, still dealing with a lot of grief and depression from the loss of her father. This was his bookstore and she's loved it for a long time. And now this is all she's got left of him. And she doesn't understand how it could be anything different from that. And she also can't make herself do the extra work that it'll take to help this place thrive at this point. Like, she's in a state of depression, I think.
Depression holes suck.
They really do.
They can suck all motivation out of you and then also leave you in a state of, I don't know where to start. And that's too much energy for me to even contemplate, much less do. I know that a lot of people, when they are clinically depressed, have a hard time even getting out of bed sometimes, have a hard time finding motivation to feed themselves well or dress well or bathe or pick up that cup that has been sitting under their table for 6 days. And you know what? Like sometimes you need someone to just say, hey, I'm going to help you, or just do it to kind of pull everything back to a semi not overwhelming state. But you can't ask the depressed person what they need and expect them to be able to help them.
And this is where Viv is really kind of wise. She doesn't go in and ask Fern, what do you need me to do?
She just does things.
But she does do something interesting where, she recognizes the state that Fern is in. She says, oh, yeah, you're in the tunnel right now. You're focused on trying to just get out of the tunnel right now. You can't look to the left or the right or behind you. You're not able to pull your head out and really appreciate things because there's a lot of stuff going on that you're not paying attention to because you can't right now. You're in the tunnel, and sooner or later you will be out of it. So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like. And then she kind of pulls out from Fern that Fern does have some things that she would like to do for this place. If she had the energy, if she had the help,
if she had the money.
She's been lonely throughout all of this too. She hasn't had anyone to help her out. A lot of this is not a one-person job. And some of it, even when it is a one-person job, is just easier when you've got someone to provide moral support. I know that you and I oftentimes have a rapport like this where, there will be a job that needs doing, and sometimes it's just easier to do the job when you've got someone next to you to talk to bounce ideas off of, and to help you not just focus on the drudgery.
Body doubling.
Yeah, someone to keep you company. And there is no shame in needing that, and no shame in finding value in that. And so Viv is able to kind of provide that for Fern, and also help Fern get a little bit of perspective. Hey, what would make this shop better? Maybe if it wasn't such a mess.
Maybe if it didn't smell bad. Wait, it smells bad?
Well, and that's just it. Oftentimes, when you're so in the thick of things, you don't notice when things aren't working, when things are off.
Right. I mean, I grew up with parents that smoked, and then later with a person who had a dog and didn't take the dog out and trained them instead to pee on a rug in the house.
Yeah.
On top of the carpet. Not a waterproof rug. It was gross. So everything smelled like cigarettes and dog pee.
It smelled yellow.
It smelled yellow. I knew exactly what smell was being described in this book. And I lived in a room with a cat box because the cat and the dog couldn't be together very much. But yeah, it's unpleasant, but apparently the little Grifflet did not make it smell better.
No.
And so Viv and Fern do take turns just beating the crap out of the rug, which I would argue should just be hucked into the ocean. I don't know. Not really, because that's awful to the ocean.
What did the ocean do to you?
Right. So, but I mean, like, it should be disposed of in a way that doesn't harm other things with the fumes.
The other thing is Fern has all of these stacks of books all over the place, which makes it very hard for people to navigate. Like, it's not very well organized, so she has this idea that people will just ask her to find something for them, and then...
Oh God, it doesn't work that way.
It really doesn't. And then she'll just get it for them. And Viv is like, well, if you're just going to do that, why don't you put them in the back so people could at least walk around?
Yes, there's that. Oh my goodness. Have you ever been in a place like sometimes antique malls are like this, where they are just filled to the gills with stuff. And if you breathe funny, it falls down.
Yeah, it's not relaxing.
And I go to bookstores for relaxation.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a problem here when people can't go down the aisles, they can't look at the shelves, they can't find anything.
When the stacks of things in the bookcases are obscured by stacks of things in front of the bookcases.
Yeah, it makes it chaotic and difficult to navigate, and it makes you feel like you're an invader.
Like, you can have a lot of stuff, but you can also provide places to rest within a lot of stuff. Rest your eye, rest your body, rest your mind. It doesn't need to be absolute freaking chaos. I am in a room full of stuff right now. I'm looking at a ton of Lego, a ton of plushies, a ton of works in progress in my craft rooms right near us. But I have vignettes. I have things kind of grouped together so you have a place to rest your eye. Maybe not perfectly. Maybe it's starting to get a little bit overdone. But I still have restful things for me in this space.
Well, and also there is enough space that you or I can generally move through it without having to worry about knocking something over. And so, yeah, I really think that there's something else here that Viv provides to Fern, and that's a friend. Like, Fern has been pretty lonely, I think. Nobody's been coming in, nobody has been talking with her about her great passion, which is books. Like, she loves reading, she loves stories, she loves writing, she likes all of these creative things, but she doesn't have anyone that she can share this with. And Viv has proven to be someone who, despite looking like basically a jock, a big athlete, a warrior, someone who's concerned primarily with fighting and killing.
Someone who doesn't look bookish, which is unfortunate that we just snap judgment this stuff.
And I think for a long time, Viv has probably believed these things about herself too. But in this position where her body is no longer able to do the things that she's used to, at least for the time being, she's found solace in reading. She's found joy in it. First with kind of just a rip-roaring adventure tale, and now with this basically a romance novel where she's actually finding herself drawn into the relational side of things, where she's caring about the relationship and the bond that forms between the two protagonists. She's made that journey from not caring about either of these people to caring deeply about them. And she doesn't fully understand how this transformation has happened, even though she knows that it has. And she's glad that she's able to talk about this with Fern. And Fern is also glad to finally have someone to talk to about this as well.
Like, you and I really enjoy talking about books. We really like talking about the themes and the deeper parts, how they relate to us,
Yeah.
how we can learn from them. Like, we both like contemplative books, like the Monk and Robot books. There's not a whole lot of plot, but there's a whole lot of thinky stuff.
Yeah.
Not to say we don't like action as well.
Yeah. But I like the friendship that's forming here.
Yes.
And that's, I think, really the core of what they've both been needing. We people, whether we're humans, orcs, halflings, what have you, we thrive on companionship, on friendship. None of us are truly an island. And all of the problems that we face are things that honestly we can't really face alone. And we never really truly do, even if other people aren't strictly with us in a given moment. So, yeah, Viv is experiencing this, as is Fern, where they're both finding something in one another that they'd been missing. And that also brings us to another character who's going to be important. We'll recognize her from our first summer reading program series when we covered Legends and Lattes, Galena.
It's fun to see a relationship that we know is strong and companionable, starting off with a little bit of annoyance.
It reminds me a lot of the sort of enemies to lovers tropes that you see in the romance novels that Viv and Fern are discussing.
Yes. The parallels between our fantasy world that we are reading and the fantasy world that Viv is reading is a clever bit of storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, because Galena starts off just saying, hey, I want a job with your company. You should hire me, without having any You should vouch for me. Give me a reference.
Yeah.
And
Viv just going, it doesn't work that way.
I don't even know your name. I think you're just kind of a pain in the ass right now. And maybe you can be a pain for us. What do you expect?
I don't know who you are. I don't even know your name. Oh, my name's Galena. Great. I don't care. And all Viv wants to do is read her book. And I can sympathize with the being very frustrated at disruptions thing.
I can also see the frustration at having to deal with someone acting that entitled. Like, it's one thing to network yourself into a job. We've all had to do it.
Especially now.
Especially now.
It's not what you know.
It's who you know. And at the same time, networking is not a simple matter of saying, now that we've met and we've shaken hands and exchanged business cards, I'm going to ask you to put in a reference for me, even though you don't know anything about what I can do, even though you don't know anything about who I am. We've only talked for maybe 15 minutes tops, right? No, that is not a reference that's going to get you in.
No.
And, Galena's, well, fork you too response is telling that, yeah, she is not a mature person right now. And I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for her.
No, I've known people like that just are grating because they think that they know more than the people who know more than them. And that's pretty much all I've got to say about Galena for now. One other thing, we do get a little vignette of Viv going off to get a new cane rather than a crutch and get a checkup at the doctor. And I think the one tidbit of things that is important there is looking around the room and going, you have a lot of books. You must know Fern. Who?
Yeah, I mean, he's an elf. He probably has had these books since before Fern's father even opened the bookshop.
Possibly, but he does get new reading material. He just doesn't go local. Probably because of the state of Fern's shop.
Yeah.
It's not welcoming, so why would I be there for more than a minute?
I mean, he's probably been all over the world. He's probably seen bookshops that are well run, that don't smell like dog piss.
I mean, that is a huge turnoff. Not gonna lie. It's massive Grifflet piss. But
oh, okay, excuse me.
Anyway, that is the one thing that is kind of important in that conversation. But on her way back, Viv, you ever get the feeling that you're being watched?
Yeah.
Just the hairs on the back of your neck kind of raising up. That's what she gets. She looks around, she sees a random guy who's been watching her, like is looking at her, who then disappears into the crowd and she can't find him again.
This man in a gray cloak is important.
I mean, obviously, otherwise, why would we spend the time on him? But I think we've discussed nearly everything.
There's one more thing we need to discuss.
Okay.
The other thing that we need to discuss is the goings on at the bakery.
Oh, right.
So while she's out and about, Viv encounters Maylee, who is the dwarven baker of the town, who is doing a really good business, just by and large.
I mean, when your shop smells like that versus the way that the bookshop smells.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So what we discover is, Maylee actually is a little hurt that Viv hasn't come back.
So I find it really sweet and cute, like, that Maylee remembers Viv. They have to be seeing tons of people through the shop constantly. Just absolutely constantly. And to remember each and every customer is just a great customer service skill. And I do not want to poo-poo anybody who's got great customer service skills because I've done customer service. I didn't like doing customer service. I wasn't this good at customer service.
I think there's more than just good customer service going on here.
You're thinking a crush.
Yeah.
I mean, that very ace person who keeps looking back at their life and going, facepalm. Duh, should have seen that one. But regardless, There have been times when we've gone to restaurants that are locally owned restaurants and like just family run where, sometimes we weren't able to go more than like once every couple months. And it always was charming and lovely when the people remembered us. Again, people with really good customer service skills that I do not possess.
Like I say, Mei Lee, I think, has a bit of a soft spot for Viv. Just by the fact that, one, she's giving Viv a lot of product.
Yeah, I did notice that.
And she's a little more patient with Viv than she is with other customers.
Right. She'll look around and go, quiet you.
Yeah.
No complaints.
And she's also throwing winks Viv's way. Yeah, I think
There's probably more there.
I think it's more than just good customer service.
Fair. Now, it did inspire Viv to go back and pick up some things at the bakery, specifically for Pitts, to say thank you. Sometimes people will accept gifts better than they will accept money. And honestly, I would rather have a gift that someone thought about and cared and showed consideration for me than to pay me for a thing that I did. It's why I have a dice tower that I absolutely adore. I did a graphic design work for a friend of mine, and I'm like, why? I did it because I wanted to, not because of promise of payment. And my friend's like, can I get you something? And I'm like, dice tower? Cool. And now I have a dice tower that I really love.
One thing we also find is that Pitts received a gift from Fern, which was a book of poetry, which I think he took because he thought it was small and short.
And it turns out that much like Viv, where everyone assumes that she's not a reader, no one expects Pitts to be a reader. And he's going through this book of poetry and getting so much value out of it.
He likes to read a page and then just kind of marinate on it, think about it, and turn it around in his head.
That ability to stop and think, to slow down, to focus in on one thing, it's a really special skill.
Yeah. So now let's go to the final scene. Viv is coming back to Fern's place, and when she gets there, she discovers the man in gray is already there. And she doesn't know why.
We are not meant to like this man. And I can tell you the literary trope that we are really smacked in the face with about this. Pot Roast bounds up like at this dude and he backhands the Grifflet.
Yeah. His response is one of violence. And then he says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I was just startled is all." But really what that tells us is that his response to something that surprises him is instantly violence. Which, I mean, even Viv, who is a seasoned warrior, someone who is used to dealing with violence, did not react that way to Pot Roast. Pot Roast still doesn't really like her. Her response to Pot Roast was, "Oh, the dog doesn't like me," or "the Grifflet doesn't like me, sorry." And well, I guess the dog doesn't like me yet, but I can still be kind to the dog. She still makes sure to give him snacks when she shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And even when Pot Roast is not interested in them from her, gives them to Fern to give to him. It's not really that we can rely on animals as a useful barometer for a person's character, but we can use how they treat animals as a pretty good barometer. So it doesn't really tell us anything that Pot Roast doesn't like the man in gray. Pot Roast is a jerk, okay?
Right. But we can look at the man in gray's behavior and go, I don't like this dude.
He's trouble, I think.
As the person who has read this book already, you probably know.
Can confirm.
You do know. Gotcha.
All right. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and move into notable quotables. It's your turn this week. What did you pick?
All right. So we were talking about how there's a smell. Yeah, it sort of smells yellow and not a good yellow. Like there's a good yellow.
Well, there's like lemon, right? That's fresh and zesty and bright.
That's true.
And then there's stuff that smells like urine and decay.
Yeah, it's the latter.
Ew.
Ew. I did have a few more, but I'm going to be honest here. Unless while I'm skimming through real quick, I might just, I don't know. I'm tired. I've had too many people poking at my insides recently.
It's understandable.
So this is what I get for not writing them down. Oops.
Oops.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna find them real quick. So I think I'm gonna give up on this. Sorry, guys.
It's all right.
But the yellow comment, I think the yellow comment's plenty.
Yeah. All right. So now it's time to talk about what we learned this week. It's my turn. So this is something I came across on Ars Technica, which is a great technology website. If you're ever interested,
They're still in existence?
they still exist
That's awesome.
and they're still independent. And yeah.
Cool.
So this is about the birth of the emoticon. Since the earliest days of the internet, users have posted a broad mix of both serious and humorous content, and oftentimes in the exact same forms, which leads to a fair amount of confusion between the two. After all, we don't have tone or body language that helps us easily identify whether a poster is serious or they're just joshing with us. So back in 1982, researchers at Carnegie Mellon found themselves in just this situation.
The year that we were born.
Yeah, yep. So the issue began on September 16th when computer scientist Neil Schwartz posed a physics problem to colleagues on Carnegie Mellon's B-board system and explored what happens to objects in a free-falling elevator, specifically if you have a lit candle and a drop of mercury. Later that evening, another computer scientist named Howard Gale naturally responded with a joke message entitled "Warning. One of the elevators on campus is contaminated with mercury and looks to be suffering from slight fire damage due to a physics experiment."
So much like War of the Worlds.
A little bit. And despite multiple follow-up posts clarifying that this was in fact a joke, many students and faculty still believed it.
Yes, because the correction is never as widespread as the original thing.
Right, so this turned into a big kerfuffle over the whole affair. And the B-board community set out trying to figure out a way to disambiguate between serious and silly posts, with Schwartz himself providing the first concrete suggestion. Maybe we should adopt a convention of putting a star or asterisk in the subject field of any notice which is to be taken as a joke. And then we had additional scientists chiming in with alternatives where Joseph Ginder suggested using a percentage sign. Anthony Stentz proposed using a system of stars for good jokes and percentage marks for bad jokes. Keith Wright argued for the ampersand because it both looks funny and sounds funny. Leonard Hamey suggested a mark that was a bracket followed by a pound sign followed by a closed bracket because it looked like two lips with teeth showing between them if you looked at it on the side. It's weird. Meanwhile, a different Carnegie Mellon group who worked on the Gandalf VAX system, because as long as there have been computers, there have been nerds who name them after Tolkien references, revealed that they were using a system of a slash, two underscores, and then another slash going the other direction as a smiley face to mark jokes, although it never really took off outside that Gandalf VAX system. Then on September 19th, research assistant Professor Scott Fallman weighed in with the winning formula. I propose that the following character sequence be read for joke markers: colon, dash, close parentheses, and then read it sideways.
Which is where we get our little smiley that we have now.
Yep. He also proposed marking things that are not jokes given current trends, which are probably going to be fewer. And that was where we got the frowny. And so while Fallman didn't invent the concept of joke markers, and that was Schwartz, and he didn't invent the smile symbols, because that was always going on with the Gandalf crew, he managed to synthesize the best elements, such as the simplicity of single character proposals, the visual clarity of face-like symbols, the sideways reading principle hinted at by Hamey, and a complete binary system that covered both humor and seriousness. And that simplicity meant that it worked on pretty much any computing system, no matter how primitive we might view it by today's standards. These emoticons, as they came to be known, spread virally across ARPANET, reaching other universities and labs and research facilities, along with a bunch of growing variations. Today, we largely rely on emoji, which is a parallel system developed in Japan by Sigetaka Kurita for the NTT Docomo company to perform the same function, though you still occasionally will run into Fallman sideways faces in text messages and some social media posts. I thought it was pretty fun.
So I sometimes type out the colon and close parentheses for smiley and expect, because my phone does it, that it's going to change from an emoticon to an emoji. And sometimes it does. And on my computer on Reddit, it does not. So I look old.
Well, and it's people using whatever technology they have to find ways to express themselves. It's the same as people putting a little heart in the dot of an I when they sign their name.
Or doing a 3 and a closed caret.
Yeah. All of these are little ways that people have found to express themselves, even using a limited character set.
Well, like, we have a friend who puts LOL on the end of literally everything, trying to downplay the seriousness of what she's saying.
I will take the lol over people just typing haha, because then I just read that as someone nervously saying, haha, yes, that is fine, haha.
I kind of get that, though, from the lol.
I get less of that from the lol. What I'm trying to say is Gen Z's weird.
She's not Gen Z.
No, but millennials use lol. Gen Z uses haha.
Are you sure about that, or are you just being old?
Both.
Got it. Anyway, I mean, I sometimes use hee hee.
It's a little different. Hee hee actually sounds like you were genuinely being silly and genuinely laughing, whereas haha sound like I don't know anyone who actually laughs saying ha 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 ha. Like seriously. I don't know anybody who says haha funny. Like seriously or sincerely.
Whatever. I think it's time to move on from this.
Yes. Anyway, it's time to move on to Thing of the Week. It's your turn. What'd you pick?
The Mighty Nein animated series.
Ooh, yeah. That's right. The first 4 episodes are out as of now.
Yes. And as of the time that this comes out on Tuesday, I think it's this upcoming Tuesday. Gosh, I'm so tired, guys. Whatever. Sometimes I don't even know what day it is. So, the fact that I've kept everything on schedule is a minor miracle. Anyway, but yes, The Mighty Nein, which is Critical Role, who also did The Legend of Vox Machina, which is both a actual play campaign and a animated series. But their second campaign on the actual play was The Mighty Nein. And it's darker. It's got less of the slapstick silliness. It's got some real depth to it. And yeah, most of what we've gotten so far is character introductions. But I think even within that, we've gotten a lot more difficult story.
Yeah, I think we see the characters more at odds with one another, especially in the early going. Like, particularly when we see the characters of Caleb and Not the Brave acting as almost
No comma.
yes. Acting as antagonists for the rest of the party in many ways. Not just in that sort of, oh, they're behaving impulsively at cross purposes to their friends occasionally or making a rash decision, but specifically going out of their way to act explicitly against the rest of the party. So there's a lot more, I think, inter-party conflict baked into it. When they come together, it's going to, I think, actually mean more because it isn't just sort of, well, we just are always on the same side for everything by default.
There's a lot more real discussion and real disagreements, but in ways that are dramatic without being like childish.
Yeah, the characters, to compare Vox Machina, the characters agree about what the general end game should be in any given case. Fight the bad guys, save the world, etc. That's kind of taken for granted. And where there's conflict, it's mostly just over how to approach a given plan.
And that's Vox Machina.
Yeah. Whereas in the Mighty Nein, they don't necessarily even agree on what the end game is.
They don't agree on the plans. They don't agree on the end game. They don't agree how important any given piece of it is.
Right. They don't agree on what the world should look like. They don't agree on how the world works.
Or how it should function.
They're all still trying to figure that out. And so I think it's really interesting to see a group that has a little bit more conflict baked into it, and then how they overcome that and come together as a group.
Honestly, I just recommend y'all watch it. I know it's on Prime, and I know that that's kind of tough for some people, and I respect anyone who chooses not to. End of sentence.
All right. Well, thanks for the recommendation. With that, I'd like to thank you for potting with me.
Thank you for potting with me.
And thanks for listening to Tales from the Waystone. Join us next time as we continue the summer reading program series with chapters 12 through the end of 17 of Bookshops and Bonedust.
We would like to thank our friend Shawnee Jang for our theme music.
And many thanks to Travis Baldree for creating this universe that we're enjoying exploring.
Audio production and editing courtesy of me, Phoenix McCullough.
And writing and project management courtesy of me, Will McCullough.
If you would like to help support us and have the means to do so, please consider becoming a patron on our Patreon page, patreon.com/waystonepod. We did just have to pay for the hosting, and technically we lose money on this thing, but we enjoy it and we're not hurting. Totally understand if you can't. But if you do, we are going to be recording our solstice pods soon. And there are exclusive bonus pods over there. So, anyway, with that, here's a very sleepy To One More Day Above the Roses.
To One More Day Above the Roses.
Ding! I promise you our cat's not dying. He's just carrying around a lamb chop in his mouth.